All right, everybody. Welcome back. We're at opening day 2021 as the Philadelphia Phillies. As you can see, I've really been working a lot of hours and nerding out, as emphasized by the glasses I'm wearing tonight during this recording. Just putting in the hours here, trying to get the Phillies into shape for the 2021 season. So let's go ahead. Oh, and thank you. I think it was maybe Christopher who pointed out the thing with the mouse that's going on in the recordings. I noticed that it's annoying me. I tried to fix it tonight, no BS. And basically I only have a limited amount of time to record this when I'm recording it tonight. And I wasn't able to figure it out, but I'll get it straightened out for future videos. And so let's go ahead and look at the preseason predictions. Here we are at opening day. And let's go to the Phils first. So we're predicted to go 83-79. The interesting thing is we're predicted to have a -3 run differential, -3, -3, however you prefer it. And really just not even be in the hunt for the wild card or the NL East, which, I kind of agree. So the rest of the league, Yankees, Twins, Astros, predicted to win their divisions, and then Mets are predicted to edge out the Braves by a game, and then Brewers, wow, 91 wins, 10 games. Nobody in NL Central is that good. Come on. And then the Dodgers, wow, predicted to win by 20 games over the Padres. All right, cool. And so let's go ahead and review the roster, and I'll show you what we're going to with. Like I said, I wasn't going to make any trades before May 1st, and so the roster is pretty similar. So let's go ahead and I'll show you. I did bring up Jankowski, right, to be in center field, and I ended up getting rid of Matt Joyce. I'll go into what I did with him in a minute, but Jankowski's up, and it's because of his range. He can play center field. This team's defense sucks. I think their hitting will be good enough. He's not a long-term solution. He's hopefully not even this entire year solution, but he's a solution for now, because remember, I'm not making any trades till May 1st, so he's a solution until at least then. I think he does the most for our team in the area that we need it. He's going to bat 9th. I'm going to try the pitcher slot 8th and Jankowski 9th. The lineup, we're going Bohm, Harper, Hoskins, Realmuto, Gregorius, McCutchen, Segura, pitcher Jankowski. I wanted Bryce batting 2nd as my best hitter. I debated between 2nd or 4th, but just with the way lefties and righties line up on this team, I didn't want to have 3 straight righties to start the lineup, because Bohm, Harper, Hoskins, and Realmuto were going to be my top 4 hitters, basically, with Didi 5th. I could flip Didi and Hoskins, but that's going to be my lineup to start against lefties and righties, and so no other changes to that. Pitching side of things, again, pretty similar to what we looked at. I changed some of the bullpen roles, but starting rotation's the same with Nola, Wheeler, Eflin, Velasquez, and Moore. And then in my bullpen, if you've watched some of my tutorials, I really like to have a stopper. I just don't have a guy who can fill that role right now. None of the guys with the stamina to do that role, like basically 40 or above is what I'd prefer, maybe a 35. None of those guys are good enough. So Neris is going to be in the typical closer role, and then Alvarado, man, this control I'm banking on outweighing his movement outweighing his control. He's going to be my lefty setup guy. My righty setup guy would be Archie Bradley. Then we got Coonrod, Kinsler, Brogdon, and Suarez. Suarez will also be a specialist, and then Hale and Anderson will be in there too. This bullpen's not great, guys. It's not great. The pitching staff isn't great. It's gonna be rough, and I'm a little bit regretting putting the limits on the trades, because I just want to go out and make this team better now and win Bryce Harper a championship. But I didn't. So, anyways, I did sign this guy, Corey Taylor, because he was a guy with really good movement, good control. He can come up and pitch out of the bullpen, and he's got option years. So I wanted some guys that I could put in as AAA depth, because I don't have a lot of good AAA depth to bring up onto my 40-man when I have injuries or I need fresh arms. So I signed Taylor, and let's see, I put some other offers out there to guys who are just taking their sweet time, even though the season's starting. David Robertson, he would be a really big addition to the back end of my bullpen. He hasn't decided yet. I offered him whatever he was asking, I think like $3.2 million. And Jake Thompson is another guy, just like Taylor, who he has options, and he doesn't have the service time to decline those options. So he's basically just starter depth for me, because I don't have a lot of good depth I believe in AAA. I have some young arms that are unproven, don't have good movement for my ballpark. So Jake Thompson hopefully will come to terms with us. I signed some other lower level minor league free agents, nobody really important, just kind of trying to fill out rosters down there, but I'll worry about that more as the minor league season gets started. And let's go next to personnel. I made several changes. So I brought in a new third base coach. Here, let's actually look at this under staff roles. So, and my staff cohesion went from, I think, normal to happy. So Jose Oquendo, brought him in basically because he's outstanding at teaching defense, infield, and outfield, and didn't really, and he's excellent at in-game running. And I didn't have anybody who really could fill these roles of teaching these certain different positions, being outstanding at it. So I brought in him primarily because of that. He struggles with 4 guys on my staff, personable. I tried to weigh basically the best coach along with the guy who is going to get along best with the rest of my staff. You know, I'm sure a lot of you have played longer term sims than I have at this point in Out of the Park 22, but I'm still kind of learning that just because a lot of my sims have been shorter term, like the trade deadline takeover. So that's what I went with. I went with considering those two things and trying to strike a balance. So who else to bring in? I brought in Brian Bridges, who I believe was my scouting director for my fake Orioles sim in Out of the Park 21. And then I believe he retired and I hired his son or something, or maybe he was the son. But anyways, Brian Bridges is here, mainly because he highly favors tools, which I prefer. Oh, hey, pop-up. Let's get that out of here. All right. I don't know why McAfee decided to bother me there. And so scouting preference highly favors tools and outstanding at scouting amateurs. Those are the 2 things that I think are most important. I would prefer him to be better at international, but there really wasn't a guy out there who was the perfect package for scouting. So Bridges, I liked these 2 things, the amateurs and the scouting preference. And so I went with him. I brought him in. I also brought in a new pitching coach, Brian Conger, who does not work well with anybody on my staff, and struggles with 3 guys on my staff. So he's personally struggles with personal people. That's interesting, Brian Conger. So, but I brought him in because he's good at development, mechanics, and aging, and then he's excellent at teaching pitching. And again, this was another thing where there was no perfect guy out there, but I definitely considered him an upgrade over who I had. Hitting coach, I brought in Joey DeMonte, and he works well with 3 guys on my staff and doesn't struggle with anybody. So I liked him, and he's outstanding at development. He's legendary at teaching hitting. So looking forward to seeing what he can do with the bats for our team. And I should mention another reason why I considered Conger is because relationship-wise, he just really gets along well with all my pitchers. So that was a big thing that I considered with him too, basically another factor that I weighed when deciding who to bring in. So those are my new coaches. And you'll remember last time I talked about what I'm going to do with trades and, of course, allowing my patrons people who support my Patreon page to vote on some of those rules. So I currently have a poll open for them where the options for my trades are for this season. And again, I'm not going to trade till May 1st, but this season, do I just consider that bumping the trade deadline, the trade difficulty up is enough and I can trade as much as I want? Trade only for guys who are on the trade block, or allow myself 2 trades that aren't part of the trade block and then trade for guys on the trade block. So those are the options. The poll's currently open. I just opened it today. So before May 1st in this season, obviously at the point I get to May 1st in this season, I'll have to make a decision on that. And I did tell you I was going to show you what I did with Matt Joyce, and I did not show you that. So let me go back and show you, because this ties into basically what I'm doing with trades. So Matt Joyce, I traded away, and I traded him to the Giants for just a 25-year-old minor league pitcher, Frank Rubio, who probably isn't ever going to be much of anything. And basically, so the problem I would run into is I replaced Joyce on the roster with Jankowski, right? And this could happen if, say, I trade for a second baseman and then I have Gene Segura and he doesn't have a spot on my team anymore. So I'm going to have to trade those guys away and not count it as one of my 2 trades or my 0 trades, however many I end up having. So what I decided was, at least for Joyce, is that I could shop him and then I could trade him for one player that was offered up in the shopping. Oftentimes you can find a team who will give you 3 or 4 of the players that they're willing to trade 1-for-1 for Joyce. So say you shop Joyce and the Giants are interested and they had like 5 guys there. I could have added probably all of those guys they're interested in trading into the trade, but I didn't. So I limited myself to 1 guy. I just need to get Joyce off the roster. Rubio probably isn't an asset, but we'll see what I do with that moving forward. That's how I'm handling it for now. In some ways, man, the Phillies are a mess, and I think it's going to be hard to build them into a winner in the Bryce Real Muto window, even with full trading. Because, and part of that is the farm system, man. 28th overall, we've got 1 top 100 prospect, Mick Abel, and then Bryson Stott. Is it Stott, I imagine? Not Stote, right? And so he's 153, and then Johan Rojas is 184th, and then it just gets ugly. It just gets ugly. Hopefully we can develop some guys. Hopefully Nick Maton, Mickey Moniak, guys like that can kind of step up and grow into better players than they're projected to be. But this is going to be challenging, and I'm not married to those trade rules after this season. I'm just going to do it for this season, and then we'll see. But it's hard to. I don't want to waste an entire season of Bryson Real Muto's window because I think those amount of years are limited. And just one final thing, I will show you who's on the trade block so far. That's what I was going to do a minute ago, and then we got sidetracked there. So in terms of who's on the trade block, there's just nothing really all that useful out there right now. Let's show by pitching ratings. These are all the pitchers. So starters, Boyd and Bundy are interesting arms, but 40 movement in my ballpark, no thank you. And so, Matt Barnes could be an interesting piece. Beyond that, Kendall Graveman could maybe be interesting. Not a lot out there yet. All hitters, really not a lot out there. We don't need a catcher. Freddie Galvis and Brandon Crawford I don't think are going to be upgrades over Didi. There's no center fielder out here I can get. So this is kind of the team we're going to be with for now. We're going to see how it goes through May 1st and then maybe make a couple trades if my patrons let me, depending on what they vote on. And if you see the address on the page there, and it's also in the description. If you want to vote on the rules to the sim at different times, you can join my Patreon page. Thank you to the new people. I got a few new people after my Phillies video the other day, so thank you for that. But anyways, I think that's all for this one. I'm not going to do opening day live this year. Some years I do, some years I don't. I'm not going to do it live. So I will be back with an update. I normally update either about 1/3 of the way through the season or at the All-Star break. We'll see how things are going, when it's worth an update. I think probably an update in May after I make a couple trades. I'll let you guys know what's going on. But, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the people commenting and all the Phillies fans who are excited. I appreciate all of you. And I will talk to you guys next time.